Welcome to Faithfulcrum, a podcast in which Scott and Mark have conversations about faith, spirit, creativity, meaning, and almost anything else. We don't always agree, so you don't have to either. But we do agree that a good conversation sometimes makes a great song.
Well, I guess this month, late last month, I joined the Science Fiction Writers of America.
Yes. Congratulations.
Yeah, that was a huge goal for me for quite a long time, for 5 years. When I first started writing seriously again, I had written short stories in the early 90s, and I had a kind of little local fan base. I was putting out zines. Do you ever zine?
I have not heard about them since the 90s.
Yeah.
I knew you were putting out zines.
Yep. Yeah.
Homunculus?
Hey, yeah, homunculus, right. That was one time I went into a party and somehow, maybe somebody had one. And I said, "Oh, you have my thing." And the girl at the party says, "You wrote homunculus?" Because I never put my name on it.
Oh, that's great.
And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "I keep it on my toilet tank. We read it all the time." And I said, "Oh, it's okay, yeah." But in fact, I'm thinking about republishing that whole thing just as is. As a Amazon print on demand.
Yeah. That's pretty simple.
Yes, I know.
I don't know if maybe you've done it already, but
not yet.
It was surprisingly painless.
Yeah. I want to, in fact, I'm going to end up teaching, maybe in the future, maybe next year, a course. We have what we call synthesis courses or connections courses. There's two different kinds, and they can take multiple subjects and blend them. Yeah. And I would like to teach one that's creative writing on one side and self-publishing on the other. And the self-publishing, we would code all the HTML and totally hand make our documents.
Oh, wow. That's great.
So the only reason I haven't done it yet is I want to create a kind of imprint, a publishing company that offers books and little texts for sale, ebooks, and I want them to be kind of bespoke. Yeah. I don't believe that that'll make a huge difference in any kind of marketing. I mean, in my money income, but that's the way I want to do it. I think because of my zining days. Yeah. I want it to be hand tailored to look exactly and feel exactly as close as we can to what we want.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
I think it may become more important going forward. I think there's going to be, the AI stuff is going to push a desire for bespoke, handcrafted,
yes, bespoke,
whatever.
Well, I talked it over with Chad. That's what I call him, and he got behind the idea. But of course, I have to be very careful about. I don't want Chad to tell me what I want to hear. Whenever, and it does happen, particularly when they update.
Sure.
The model, I'll get comments like, "I love it," and I have to tell him again, like, I don't want those kind of comments.
Yeah.
Anyway, but then just yesterday, I got honorable mention and will get publication from an international contest run by SETI Institute, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. So that's good. It's not winning or being even a runner-up, but it does involve publication. Last time I got anything like that, I got some kind of also ran, and they were going to publish my name and print my name and then publish my story, and I refused to let them. But this time I'm a big enough fan of SETI. It seems high enough profile.
That's
They're
cool.
not going to pay me for this. So
SETI thing?
The SETI thing?
Well, I mean, like for a while back, and I signed up for it. So
they could run stuff on your
process garbage on them. Yeah.
I don't know if they still do that.
They probably don't. They probably got plenty of computers to do that. Yeah.
No, I never did that. I never had a laptop when I knew that was running. Right. And I don't think I'd do it now. Let them find their.
Yeah. Well, I'm working on some new stuff that is, it's AI related. I've been battling with AI to figure out how my relationship with what it can do for me that moves things faster, which is really what helps me, because I lose interest if I'm not moving pretty fast. We have our local, we have a historical opera house here in town. Their gallery is doing they're calling it Ink and Imagination. It's visual arts that are connected with word.
I see.
Written
Yeah,
stuff.
got it.
And I think mostly it's going to be paintings and some sculptures and some things like that. But I asked them if they would accept something that was digital video with spoken word.
Yeah.
And they said, sure. So anyway, I've been putting together some things, longer poems or poem sequences, and then generating video and very short videos and playing with a lot of filters and doing a lot of stuff, putting those together. So I've got 3 that I'm going to submit to them. And I don't know, it's been kind of fun.
Well, you are one of the artists I know who has really embraced at least the potentials of AI. And I'm fascinated by that. Another guy I went to art school with, graduate school, I'm still in touch with on Facebook. But I would like to pick his brains a little bit about what he's doing. He does a lot of 3D animations, but he's too much of a weirdo. He's not. I'm never going to get anything out of him.
Well,
but maybe at some point I'd like to ask you about your process. I might even want to interview you at some point.
That'd be great. I think the upside to the downside that you've already mentioned, which is it wants to please you, and so it'll say, "Hey, that's great."
Yeah, it's obsequious. Yeah.
The upside, my GPTs, the ones that I'm signed in on,
that's fascinating.
They have gotten to know me so very well. They have gotten much better at being responsive to what I need.
Yeah.
And so that's an upside, I think.
Yeah.
Because it does make it go faster. I've gotten to know how to prompt it in a way that it does actually kind of what I want it to do.
Yeah. Well, story, I'll feed sometimes chapters or whole stories into it, and then we'll talk about the stuff.
Yeah.
There's not been yet any single word or line that I've used. But that may not be absolutely, but certainly it's our ideas but the ideas, I would say, in every case have come out of the discussion. They weren't just presented to me I would talk about something and it would talk about something, and I would ask questions about until something occurs to me. That's generally what happens. And then I bounce that out. And at that point, its responses tell me that I found the thing we're looking for, because it will say, it's not its positive regard. It's that it says things that connect with things that I'm looking for. And I'm like, yes, I see those connections. Those are real. So I find it very helpful, but I'm not using it at anything remotely like the intensity and the volume that you seem to be.
Well, what I like doing is capturing a great deal of text. Either I'm speak it intentionally to write something. I started counseling a little while back. I have a therapist.
Yes. Okay.
And I've captured all of those, almost all of them. And then I take the transcript from that and bring it in and have it sort and analyze and reconfigure and then put it in poetic form and move it over into a song form, or move it into all kinds of things. And so I begin with my ideas and my language and then see how it reconfigures. And so all of the ideas are springing from a very specific personal source, and yet the reconfiguration is something that it's doing, and then I work along with it, and then when it's done, I then work on it a little more. But that's been really helpful to me.
That is a lot of personal information you're dropping into an AI that is with corporate connections, but
you know what?
I don't care about privacy either. So
if they want to chase me down about my depersonalization and derealization. I probably have multiple personalities, although that's not the right term anymore. So.
Oh, is it not? Yeah.
No. The right term is parts. And when you're working on that, you do parts work. That part of me. And
when you say you probably have this, whatever it is, you're talking about a condition you have. You think?
And it's been a very recent discovery.
But you think you've had it a long time?
Yeah, I think I've had it since childhood.
Okay, yeah.
It's being separated from reality. It's feeling very intensely that this is literally not real.
Yes.
That's derealization.
Yes,
depersonalization is feeling like I don't know who I am. I'm not real. I don't have that so much.
Yeah.
But it's connected at the most intense end with what used to be called multiple personalities.
Yeah.
But I don't have a diagnosis yet, but it seems to be.
This is a model that's helping you see yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's fascinating. I will say I am constantly struck, and this is actually probably happens to me in a more impactful way now than it did when I was 30. But I'm constantly struck by just how strange it is to be alive. What a weird experience we're having.
Yeah.
It's just a weird world, and it's a weird life, and just the fact of being alive is awfully strange. And that just strikes me again and again. It's just what a long, strange trip it's been, that feeling.
Okay, I do want to say one thing, though, because you sparked a thought. We've talked about this before, about narrative, about storytelling and meaning making. This is where this situation strikes me in a way that I'm struggling with my creative work, feeling like the creative work and I've always felt this way. It's a struggle to make something meaningful of what this thing is, this life. But what it's doing in some ways is it's making the rest of my experience feel as made up as a song or a story or a poem or a whatever. It feels like the same thing.
Some days the world feels like it's written, like someone else arranged the scenes, and I'm just walking through the dialogue, wearing someone else's jeans. I find a note in my own handwriting, but I don't remember what it means. Just a line about the ocean and the silence in between. It feels made up, like a song, the way the colors fall, the way we move along. Every moment's half pretending, but it still feels like belonging. Maybe I'm just learning how to live in a story I've been told, but made up doesn't mean it's wrong, just means it's something I can hold. I hear a melody in footsteps when the train pulls down the track, and I swear I've lived this morning, but from someone else's back. Truth is more a question lately, and a flag I wanna raise, but I still show up with my pencil to the edge of every page. It feels made up, like a song, with the birds just barely holding, but the pull is strong. I'm not looking for a chorus that makes everything make sense. I just want a line to hum that I don't know where I went. And maybe that's what meaning is, a tune you have recalled that still knows how to find you when you don't know you at all. And maybe what is real is what we choose to sing, even if the notes aren't tied to anything. It feels made up, like a song, but I've lived inside the rhythm all along. Every lie and every wonder still belong, and if none of this was written, all of it was drawn. I'll still follow every phrase intent. It's gone.
Yeah, I feel like the creative process is an attempt to, it comes out of the need to make sense of what's happening. And so, and I feel very compelled to do that, and not compelled necessarily even consciously all the time. I told my therapist, I literally wake up with songs going in my head, that either ones that I've already been working on or something like that. And as far as my work goes, I wake up with a lot of ideas that to solve a problem I was trying to work on. So I know that my brain is constantly trying to figure out the story that makes sense for this thing that I'm trying to make sense of. But I think with the challenges that I've been having is that's it's almost like it's bleeding into a normal life that used to sort of more fairly often feel very realistic, that is now occasionally feeling really made up, really constructed, really like manufactured, rather than like the process that you go through in creating something.
Well, now when you talk about the creative process, you're really talking about yours. I mean, you have been engaged in a creative endeavor that has lasted as long as we've known each other, which is a lifetime. Yeah. And you've been intensely involved in it as long as I've known you.
Yeah, but I have. But I think you deserve credit for being the person who opened a particular door for me that I could not have figured out how to open myself. And that was, I think, making meaning of things that are at the onset very clearly not meaningful. I mean, randomness, random words, occurrences, and determining there's meaning to be had there. And I would not have come into that, I think, if had you and I not worked together in high school on a lot of things like that.
Yeah, well, it's clear to me that we opened that door for each other.
I wrote down something on a page that didn't ask to hold a line, just a sentence half remembered from a dream I left behind. It flickered once, then disappeared, but left a trace that didn't fade, like the way a firefly hovers and tucks its light away. Random words like fireflies blinking in the weeds. I try to catch the ones that shine and carry what I need. They don't stay long, they never do. Sometimes that's enough to write by glow and not by man, to trust in scattered stuff. I've picked up lines from strangers' mouths, let them settle in my mind. They buzz around quiet parts that I don't often find. Not every spark becomes a star, not every phrase belongs, but now and then I hold one close and it hums itself into song. Random words like fireflies lifting through the dusk. I chase them with an open hand. They land if I don't rush. There's no pattern I can follow, no answer I can keep. Just breathe light in a field of dark, and something in me leaves. Maybe meaning isn't built, maybe it arrives. Winks once in the tall grass and vanishes from sight. But maybe once is all it takes to step through the night. like fireflies. I gather as they burn, not to hold or understand, just to feel them turn. I write them down before they fade, not knowing what they'll be, but some light's better than none at all, and that's enough for me.
That experience that we had, I would think it began, did it begin our freshman year? We had an English,
think so.
We had an English course taught by not even a course, it was like a unit taught by a student teacher. Do you remember this?
Yeah. And
Poetry.
she lost what I wrote. I turned it in, she lost it. I said, can I have that back? And she said, I don't know where it's at.
Wow.
I got a grade.
Oh, man.
Anyway, well, that's a little trauma from the past.
I can see it. The fact that you're holding on to that lost poem.
Yeah.
Garrison Keillor says he had written a short story and he left on a train, and it was the best short story ever written.
Yep.
He doesn't really remember it, but he remembers it,
no.
because he lost it on the train. But all I remember is that we began writing poetry for that, and that ignited something in both of us. That woman, if she lost something of yours, she also gave us both something. And we, together with our group of really intelligent friends, amazing that we could get so many young men to do this activity so often and so with such engagement, began to create poetry and other texts.
Yeah.
And songs and other kinds of expressions that it was just an explosion. And that when we went to college, you and I went to college, I went through an explosion of creativity again, getting out of the house, my 7 brothers and sisters. I'm not saying anything about them, but I did, I shared a bedroom with 2 other brothers all of my life, right? It's a wonder I ever learned to masturbate. But But the idea of just like not being able to express myself in other ways,
right,
was so. But I have had a long path involved in generating meaning from what appears to be random. What is by any definition I can come up with, as random as I can get it, and I've done. I've performed concerts and created a theater and written texts based on input that I chose or encountered, but I chose to be open to. And I've spent decades doing that.
Yeah.
It's not a huge part of my practice today, but it's there. It's part of who I am.
Well, I recall you had a band, Hallucination?
Yes,
right?
Hallucination, yes. We have decided kind of retroactively, but it really makes total sense. I put it on my CV. That I was the artistic director of this performance heptet, we call it. It wasn't really, it was a band, but it was far more than that. And I did that for 15 years, and we performed in a variety of settings. We went to Montreal Fringe. Members traveled the world.
I wish I'd gotten to see that. I never did. You and I were in very different
places,
parts of life, and at
That's
that
right.
point.
It's none of my friends ever saw me. But all of my friends tend to be a guy I met in a bar and knew from that, a very well-read guy, and we talked about literature and life a good deal. But he said he thought painters hang out with other artists, poets and performers, and all the arts do that, except writers. He said writers just hang out. They need to know what people are like,
That's interesting.
And certainly all of my friends, when I say I met this guy in a bar, that describes the majority of my friends. So none of those people have ever been the least bit interested in this aspect of my existence. But that's okay.
Well, one of the things, since you brought up art, one of the things that I've thought about for a long time, and maybe it's because of this approach to creating something out of random elements, and also found poems and some things like that. I've always thought of the word-based work that I do as feeling a little more like sculpture, like putting layers on and then peeling layers off, and and also working with what's it called? Piece that's found objects that come together.
Yes.
There's a word for that. Anyway,
found objects definitely mean found sculpture or whatever.
But the music feels for me that way as well.
Mm-hmm.
And some of that's because I work with multi-track stuff, and so it literally is layering on and then peeling off and then keeping a little bit of that but getting rid of the rest of it and some things like that. But what that does to me is I think when I first started wanting to be creative, it felt like something that was coming out of me into the world.
Yes.
And really this feels more like me taking these things out there and moving them around. It doesn't feel so much like it's coming from me other than I'm orchestrating something.
It does seem like maybe what you do, the process still happens inside of you, that you're taking these things into yourself and then manipulating them in there, as it were.
Maybe, but sometimes I don't see it till they come together out here.
Right, yes.
I mean,
certainly.
It's like trial and error with things that come together. But I think that has something to say about our response to AI. I hear a lot of people having this really, really negative reaction.
Me too.
I understand a lot of it, but it's a little bit uninformed because I think people think there's something. And I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to wonder if I really believe this.
That's okay. Put it out there.
I think people think there's something really sacred about whatever stuff comes out of them. And I just am not so sure that's the case.
No,
because more than half of the meaning of anything that comes out of me is attributed by everybody else.
Yeah.
It's what they see. It's what they hear.
Yeah.
And if I see or hear something random that just occurred in nature, and it's incredibly meaningful to me, that's no different than someone's amazing poem that they struggled over for weeks.
Well, I have said, I think, to you before, maybe not as clearly as I do believe that I don't want to overestimate it. So I'm just going to say the 100 poems that I have written in my life that involved me writing a word and then choosing a word randomly from a book, or me writing a line and then choosing a line randomly from a book and doing that back and forth with the book. The 100 poems, and I believe the number is greater than that by some margin, that I have written that way, certainly I think prepared me to deal with the jumble that is AI chatbots in a way that other creatives that I know have not been prepared. And I think both you and I have had decades of experience working with content that did not arise within us and that was never intended for us, and that was not pointed in the direction we're going, that we have incorporated into our work and found that indeed it was a direction worth pursuing, that we found between the two of us, not you and me, but between myself and the medium that I'm engaged with, the flow of words from a book, randomly chosen, for instance, working between those two. In fact, this is, in my field now, we would call this vectors. I'm following vectors, which is a direction and a. I don't want to get into it, but the two forces, they create a third. The two directions create a third direction. The two forces create an extra force, and you don't know where you're headed until you join with that other vector, that other force, and then you push each other in this third direction. And so definitely, I think you and I, and maybe some other artists, obviously, but not a lot of artists have worked as intensely as we have with random, found, and intrusive materials. I mean, I've written poems listening to the most boring lectures and letting lines from the lecture into the poem.
Yeah, right. I think there's also something to be said about the invitation for someone to receive something as a poem or as a piece of art.
Yeah.
Because I mean, one of my favorite poets is William Carlos Williams, and who's very famous with the red wheelbarrow.
Yep.
Which is
his icebox plums,
or the plums, which is frankly, it's nothing other than the fact that he has invited us to see it as something, and there's a lot in that, and to me that's really, really more interesting. my capacity to invite someone to see something in this is more interesting to me than my capacity to craft something that I hope is incredibly meaningful. I don't know. Or maybe the two work together, but I'm more interested kind of in how that works, how the invitation, because there's a craft in that, in how I'm inviting people to receive this thing and make meaning of it themselves.
I used to have a gold gilt wooden, but gold leafed picture frame, kind of fairly ornate, but not gaudy. And it was nice. And there was no picture in it, and there was no backing, and there was no glass, of course. And I think there was no wire to hang it. But I would hang it around things or place it around objects or things on walls or in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that you look at the thing differently because it has the frame around it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, that's what art is.
Yeah.
It's the frame. When you put the frame around it, it becomes art. And it could be the wallpaper that's already there. It could be anything. And I would go around and it was like a party trick. And it never failed. That frame would turn the thing, whatever you're looking through, hold it up against the sky.
Mm-hmm.
I found an old frame in the attic. No glass, no backing, just the wood. Held it up against the evening just to see if I still could. The clouds move slow behind the corners. The wind said nothing new, but something in the shape it gave made the whole thing feel more true. It's the same sky, same weight of blue, but it changes when you choose where to stand, what to hold, and what you're willing to lose. Some days I don't know what I'm doing, some days I almost do. Just putting frames around the sky and hoping something gets through. I've seen love become a stranger. I've seen strangers start to bloom. I've mistaken dust for silence in an ordinary room. I've left words on napkins, I've thrown lines out to the breeze. Not everything returns to you, but sometimes it finds peace. It's the same sky, same stretch of light, but it softens when it's named. Even sorrow finds its edges once it's framed. I'm not chasing perfect pictures, just trying to catch what's true by putting frames around the sky and offering a view. Explain the why or how, just to notice what was given and where I am right now. So here's this sky with its unfinished blue. Here's this frame I made for you. Hold it up to where it hurts, to something passing through. No promise it'll last the night, but sometimes that's enough. Just framing what I can't explain and calling it love.
So I still believe, I think that that's what is art, is a way of looking. And you can invite people with something as simple as a nice, not overstated, gilt old wooden picture frame.
Does that work? Because most people are most of the time skeptical that anything has meaning?
I don't know. I will say, I think people have the wrong idea about meaning. They think that meaning is an inherent quality in the opera that they're hearing or the scripture they're reading. But I believe fully that, in fact, I have told people that I believe I understand what is the purpose of human life. And I've asked them to guess. I say, there is something, and I believe it's once you get to it, you'll know it to be true as well. But the only clue is that I'll give people is bees are for making honey. I don't really believe bees are for making honey, but what they do is they make honey, and they do it, and then nobody else does it. I mean, some other insects do create this, but I mean, the point is these creatures do this thing, and bees do it on a scale like a giant industry. They do it at such a pace that we can steal their honey, and they will just make more. Getting honey from a hive, I don't know what they do. I'm sure they don't take all of it. But getting honey from a hive does not stop that hive, is not killing that hive. Whatever kills hives is not us eating their honey. And that is an amazing thing. They are amazing at it. And I say that humans are for making, I call it culture. We make culture the way no other creature does.
I wake up with the phrase I didn't plan on keeping, stuck like smoke along my sleeve. The day comes in through half-closed curtains, asks me what I believe. I carry thoughts like loose change in my pocket. Some I spend, some I lose, some just clink when I'm walking with no clear use. Maybe we're like bees in a field we didn't choose, working something out of what we find, making honey out of passing hours, leaving gold behind. I don't know who gets to taste it or how long it's gonna keep, but I keep building little answers out of what I read. Watched a frame turn air into a picture. Nothing changed but how I stood. Same old sky, different questions, suddenly misunderstood. I've taken words from overheard conversations, let them settle where they land. Sometimes they feel like borrowed language, sometimes like my own hands. Maybe we're like bees in borrowed weather, flying roots we can't explain, gathering the smallest scattered things that don't go to waste. I don't claim to see the pattern, I just follow what I need, turning moments into something sweet that helps me breathe. The hive hums even when I'm quiet, something working underneath. Know the reason, I just feel the need. And maybe needing isn't hidden, maybe it's made this way. Slow accumulation, day by day. So I'll keep moving through the hours with whatever truth I find, like a bee that doesn't question why it leaves a mark behind. If this life is just a passing bloom that opens, man, it's gone. Let me leave a little honey here to show I've been alone.
we created language, which is like this huge envelope for culture. We can sing about how the stars were hung, We can boast about the men we've killed, and we can trade objects that only exist in language. But I think meaning is a simpler way to put it. Bees make honey. Human beings make meaning. We are the meaning-making creatures. Almost all the meaning you will ever encounter in your existence was made by human beings, and you're making it right now, and you're making it all the time, but you don't know it, and so you sometimes require the frame to see the art. That is just a way of focusing your meaning-making ability.
So it makes me think that artists are not meaning makers. They are, but not so much. That's not what makes them artists. It's their capacity to lure other people into making meaning.
Well, that could be. People say, they'll read Shakespeare and they'll say, well, he's, with what they call like a communist reading or a Freudian reading. Yeah. And I don't think they're harming Shakespeare. They're doing Shakespeare a great favor because now Shakespeare has more in him, right? And I just mean the body of his work.
Right.
And we keep... I use Hamlet as an example in a lot of times when I'm talking about certain kinds of ideas. But Hamlet is a guy that we keep alive by thinking about him. And he has lived for hundreds of years, and he will outlive everyone in this room. But he is, and the more we can say about him, and the more different things we can say about him, the more he lives. And he's living in culture. Culture is the sphere in which he swims like a fish or, broods or whatever you want, whatever he's doing. And the reading that he's communist is not wrong. And the reading that he's Freudian or whatever is not wrong. But it just adds to his legend. That's what it does. It adds to his body, his body made of thought, of information, and of meaning. And so artists are people who have taken to working culture. We're all creating culture all the time, but artists are more aware of it. They direct their attention in that area. Other people, you think of them as consumers of culture, but they come out of a movie and they'd say, I think that was the most frightening scene. And the other people with them say, what scene? Because this viewer saw something in it that I didn't see. And we're constantly doing that, and we do it on, it's like what human beings are for.
If we turn our attention to the most popular of art, which I think I would say
it's
is popular music is what I'd say.
Oh, okay.
No,
it's video games, opera. My friend.
It is video games, but let's step back a decade or two and say
popular to you.
Say popular music.
Yeah, popular
anyway,
music, sure.
What I would say about that is the thing that separates a well-known pop song from a song that no one cares about so much quite often is the shared experience of the listeners and the associations, the meaning that they've made with that. Because you think back to the big songs that were huge at a particular time when certain things were going on in the world and there was a collective experience of certain things. Those songs rise to heights that no other song would rise to. And it's not because of anything that's necessarily inherent in that song. It's as good or as not good as a lot of other songs, but it's because of and we've talked about context before, but it's because of that social context that it has when it happened and who experienced it together.
Why? I don't know. I will always say it's not so important. Making art is not so important. And the people who make it are not necessarily important people. They're doing what everyone does, but they're doing it with an intention. And the underlying thing, the creating of culture, the creating of meaning is not the most important thing in the world, but it is the most important thing to our species. It's the thing that makes us look like bees. It's an amazing, obsessive, constant, universal pursuit. And we don't just pursue it, we build up treasures. Golden, sweet treasures, and we feed each other on culture. But it's like the bees are eating and thriving physically. We are creatures who live partly in a mental sphere. This might be a good place to say how I see the human being. And I borrow some of this imagery from I would say it must be Hindu imagery where I first encountered this idea, because it involves a plant I'm not as familiar with as the people in that part of the world, the lotus flower. But the lotus flower has roots in the mud under the water, a long stem that passes through the water, and a flower that floats on the surface of the water. And the part of me in the mud is what I call my mineral part. There's calcium in my elbow, and the calcium is not alive. Calcium is not, it's just a mineral. It's not alive, but in me it lives. The bones are not calcic structures that appear without life to form them. They are honeycombed with kind of, they're created in specific ways by life. But the calcium itself is not alive. So part of me is mineral, not living. But in me it lives. And the stem in the water is my physical nature. The cells of my body, the blood in my veins, the muscles, the sinews, the brain, they are alive, but they're not conscious. The blood does not think. The cells in my brain, contrary to what it might appear to you, don't think. They're not thinking. My heart, my pancreas, my toenails, I don't know about but whatever produces those toenails, those are all biological processes. I think you could recognize that the nails, whether they're alive or not, are biological artifacts. They are alive but not conscious. But in me, they are conscious. They contribute to my consciousness, like the minerals in my body. In me, the calcium lives. The iron lives. In me, the heart thinks. It is part of a process that is thinking.
Right.
And the mind part of me is the lotus, and it lives in the air and the sunlight. And that thinking part of me is activity. That's what I believe.
There's a part of me that roots in silence, another part that floats and sings. One feels like bone, one like breath, and something in between. I don't always know the difference between the echo and the prayer, but I've been talking out loud to no one in the sunlight in the air. Talking in the sunlight and air, letting the thoughts go anywhere. Not looking for an answer, just some kind of repair. If you hear me, if you don't, either way I'm still there. Talking in the sunlight and air. I've left ideas like leaves on water, just to see which ones might float. Some dissolve and some keep shining, like a half-remembered note. And I've mistaken wind for meaning, and clouds for someone's stare. But I keep talking like it matters to the sunlight in the air. Talking in the sunlight and air, where the heart says more than it bears, where whisper might get noticed if you happen to be there. I don't always know who's listening, but it helps just to declare. Talking in the sunlight and air. And if meaning is just a byproduct of how we learn to see, then maybe all this murmur right, not to be wise, just to leave something behind. It tries talking in the sunlight and air, like these that don't know where it gold ends up or is it lies. Still they offer what they bear, and I'll keep speaking small and soft as long as I can carry. Talking in the sunlight and air.
It's what's happening in my brain. I don't think my brain is conscious. I mean, I will die and my brain will not alter much in the first few seconds.
Mm-hmm.
But I will not be happening.
Yeah.
And so I also believe that in that sunlight and in that air, we are talking to each other, creating culture, and we're producing a kind of a fantasy picture show that we all share and we imagine to be true. And it is true for us. We've created in culture, we have Indiana Jones and we have Gilgamesh and we have Mother Mary, and we have all these characters and events. We have wars and histories. We have gods, we have demons, and they appear in different forms like little elves or gray aliens. And all of those characters live in us, in our thinking, the way the minerals in my body live in me. But they just don't have mineral bodies. They don't have biological bodies. They're like creatures of the light and air, whereas I'm a creature only partly of light and air.
Yeah. Yeah. What strikes me about the lotus and about the honey is that, and perhaps this goes back to the artist. The art's not the point. The honey's not the point. The petals of the lotus aren't the point. The point is what they do to the community or to the surrounding potential community, whether it's about attracting pollinators or feeding the queen or any of those things. They're in service to this community thing, which is, I think, what culture is in service to. And I think it's why, as a frustrated artist myself, why, as much as I would love it to be the case that just the process of creating was enough, it is friggin' not enough. I gotta have someone get it.
I see what you mean, right?
In some way. Some way. I mean, I can spend all day, and I have, spinning out all kinds of things that are meaningful to me.
Right.
But they feel unfulfilled unless they, in some way, become meaningful to someone else.
Well, that's what I mean by culture, is that we share these artifacts, these mental artifacts and characters and histories and creatures and stories, and that they live not just in my mind, but in the minds, and not all the human minds. But I mean, some of them live in most. Sherlock Holmes is alive in a lot of minds around the world who speak different languages and with different entire world histories, cultures that are very different from the culture in which he originally arose and was created. The culture I live in is quite different from Edwardian or Elizabethan England, right? But I think the guy in Poe who buries the heart of the old man under the floorboards and you can still hear it beating. I believe that there are people all over the globe who know that man and that heart and have heard that heartbeat. So sharing is the whole. When I say our purpose, that what we do, whether or not, I mean, I don't want to get ontological or like teleological, like we were made to create.
Sure.
But that's exactly what we do. We do it in a way that's obsessive and complete, like the bees make honey, and the bees look like they're made for that. But but the sharing it and it living or at least moving, it doesn't have to live forever, but it lives for a bit in the sunlight and the air, and others see it against the screen of the sky. That is culture. It's not like you're not participating in that if you create things that you never share. You are, but it's a bit like I have no children, and so I am not contributing to the gene pool, and I don't intend to. And I don't think that's selfish of me. Well, maybe it is. It's certainly because I'm selfish that I didn't want to do that. But I don't think the world needs my genes. But I do think intensely that the world needs my thoughts.
Yeah.
And whether or not that's true, that's what makes an artist. They've just got to share their great idea.
Yeah. Yeah. If you'd like to hear more conversations like this one and hear a few more songs, just subscribe to Faith Fulcrum on your favorite podcast platform or go to faithfulcrum.com, where you'll find all of our first season episodes and every episode yet to come. This has been Faith Fulcrum.